Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to episode 9 of the Believers and Equals podcast. This is your brother and your host, Rahul Ali, the early talent man. So getting used to saying that. So in this episode, we speak to someone from a previous episode. So we have a returning guest who is Osama Qayyum. And if you listen to episode 1, you'll know that I met Osama through the Summer Diversity Internship Programme. And in this episode, we go into that. And we also go into his placement here, how that started from a 12-month placement in an asset management firm to leaving early, a lot earlier, kind of short, to ending up working in Brussels. How did that happen? We'll find out. We also talk about in more detail his placement on the Summer Diversity Internship Scheme and his current role at number 10, which is also very interesting. But advices we also give, we cover how to be prepared for an internship, qualities like resilience, how to make the most of an internship, and good characteristics and behaviors to show from that. So from his experience and also from mine, where I've sort of managed or seen the other side to looking after interns from the operational side and from a sort of HR side. So sharing that insight as well. So this should be helpful. And if you know anyone that is currently at university or is thinking about university, then please do share this with them, because in all our episodes there's a lot of content and a lot of insight there that can really help any young Muslim that's in that sort of situation to know how to deal with it and know how to be best prepared, because that's what this is all about. We want you listeners to be prepared for your career journey, and not just be prepared, but be the best prepared that you can be, and fully informed on how to make the most of it. So yeah, please do share this content with whoever you think will benefit, and enjoy. So we're going to look at internships, and ideally I wanted to push this episode last week because the Summer Diversity Internship vacancy was closing, but that's not a problem because that's always going to be there for the next how many years. I'm pretty sure it's not going anywhere. And it's also the point that you've done more internships than the Summer Diversity Internship, so we could touch upon quite a few different things. Speak about your experience of them, where you kind of learn how to navigate certain challenges, and also how to be prepared to source certain opportunities, or just be prepared to apply for certain opportunities, because I think there's that challenge where you come into university, it's a whole new environment, you're trying to adapt to that, you're only there for 3 years, well, on average, and then there's that whole thing about you when you leave you need to have experience as well. So it's like, crap, I need to figure out what profession do I want to get into, how do I go about it, and what experience do I need, or where should I be looking, or how should I be going about it? Because the sad reality is that people that leave university with little to no experience or any kind of extracurricular thing, they do face a challenge unless they specifically sourced or secured a graduate program, which I don't think is always the case for the amount of graduates there are. But
I mean, now it's even tougher, but
yeah, exactly. So we will start with, because we're government civil servants, I think the Summer Diversity Internship would be a good one to start, because I remember, so we actually met through the Summer Diversity Internship, so I was on that sort of team that was coordinating it, and I was doing the events.
Yeah, you were managing it all, and I was I was looking for a brother, and I saw this guy with a dense beard. I was like, this guy, I'm going to go to him, get some help, and he sorted me out big time, man.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, but it's good though, because when I was looking at that opening ceremony where there's about 4,500 people, interns, young people there, we know it's for those from a minority ethnic background, those from a lower socioeconomic background, those that have a disability. But when you break that down, and I was looking at how many, this is a general observation, how many Muslims are there in this space, and there's a group of brothers, I think maybe from what I gathered, about 7, 8 of you guys.
Yeah, we prayed together, I think, as well.
And there's
literally 6, 7 of us. There weren't many at all.
And there's equally probably about maybe the same amount of sisters. So if you're looking at
Yeah.
10, 15 people out of 500, that is
Yeah.
a very small number. And even when I was doing a lot of outreach work, the sort of numbers of Muslims that I would see again was a small thing. I think there's a thing somewhere going wrong where we don't either go to these events or we don't proactively look for opportunities where we should be. And I think my recent clips that I've been putting on my Instagram posts and should be, coming up on YouTube, like the mini sort of snippets. One of the things is like seek opportunities, like, be proactive with it and don't wait for someone to tell you.
That's right.
And the other thing is, like take the initiative to go and find it. I think those two are like, super, super important. And
Yeah.
stuff like Summer Diversity Internship, where it literally you can get in there, just perform to a certain criteria, get a fast pass, potentially go into the fast stream, or even be offered a role in government after.
Sure.
It's an amazing opportunity, and the civil service is a good career path, I think, for young Muslims to definitely consider. But how was your experience of the program? What led you to it first, and then what's your kind of overview of how the whole 6 week or a bit longer experience was for you?
Yeah, it's something like 6 weeks, 6 to 8
Yeah.
weeks. So I applied during my placement year at university. So I did my first year, my second year, and between my second and my third year, I did a placement year. So I secured a placement at a firm in Moorgate. It was an asset management, like finance-based firm. And because that's, I thought I wanted to get into finance and whatnot. As you do, you watch all these TV shows and you don't really know the harsh realities of waking up at 5 in the morning, leaving the office at like 9 p.m. and not having a life at all. So I did that for maybe 3 months, and don't forget it's a 12-month contract. But I resigned. I made the decision, even though everyone was kind of against it. I made that call because it's ultimately down to me, and I made that call and I resigned. And then I was like, well, what else is there? And I did my research and I found the SDIP. And I didn't really know much about the civil service at all. Never worked there before. Don't really have anyone in my family that's ever worked in the civil service. Friends. I had one friend that worked in the civil service, but we never really spoke too much about it. And the application process was very simple. You got your competency-based questions, scenarios, and then there was a telephone interview.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, it's very basic. I think you needed some additional information as well. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, a lot more straightforward than the fast stream. Fast stream, like you've got so many tests and this and that and video views,
As we know so well.
and then a final selection and this and that. But the SDIP was very, very straightforward. However, it is very competitive. Now, I was very fortunate enough to get it in my first time because I've got friends that have tried third time, fourth time, and they're just not getting it. And it's not like they're not qualified. They're way more qualified than me. And it was, I guess, I was just in the right place at the right time kind of thing. So I was based in the Cabinet Office in Horse Guards in London, and I was working for the Diversity and Inclusion Strategy Unit, which was really, really interesting. And I was there for like around 8 weeks. And it was the first time working in an organization where everyone was happy, everyone was smiling, and everyone was so helpful. And I at first I thought I'm the new one here, so everyone's generally going to be very nice. It was the same thing the second week, the third week, the fourth week. Strangers who didn't even know who I was. And I came to the realization that these people are genuinely very empowered in the work that they do. They are public servants. And ultimately, they've got a balance in their life. A 9 to 5 means a 9 to 5. You go home at 5. You enjoy time with the family. You go on holidays. You actually live a life. It's not just, Monday to Friday, and then you live for the weekends. The whole philosophy is very different.
How would you compare that to? Because I know there's a lot I want to get into about the asset management firm where you're really kind of keen on the whole financial side of things. But that experience, which was meant to be 12 months, you cut short to 3 months.
So now, I don't have a dig at the firm or anything because they gave me a fantastic opportunity. And if anything, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't know what I didn't want to do. And I think that's way more important than finding out what you do want to do. Because you can it's a method of, trying it out and seeing how it works. So with them, it was just the philosophy and the culture was very not to my liking. It was like, be at the office, 8:30 dot on. We're leaving at it's not even about it wasn't even about the hours. It was just about the type of work that you're doing. It was like a small room. and everyone was typing away, silence. And I was just looking at the time, like, when am I going home? When am I going home? When am I going home? When you're doing that, leave. Just go. Oh, just go home. Find somewhere else because it's not worth it. Yes, they were paying me really good money for an undergraduate. Like, it was really good money, but it's that's not good enough. That's not good enough. And it was difficult as well, like praying, things like that. As you know, in the banking industry, you might not have many Muslims. I was literally there's a sea of just white old men, and it was like there weren't that many Muslims, and you feel a little bit left out, and like even praying and things like that. I used to pray in the boardroom, just kind of sneaking in, sneaking out, and didn't feel that comfortable. But whereas at the civil service, there was Jummah khutbah happening on Fridays in the cabinet office. Like there were brothers around you, they were really supporting you, they were assisting you in everything that you needed with. Um, Ramadan, fasting, take time off, don't worry about it, work from home, we've got you, and these are non-Muslims telling me this, and it felt very inclusive. So not to say the other firm wasn't, maybe I didn't bring it up to them because it's my first proper
Yeah.
internship, out of university. You don't want to say too much. You just want to do your job, get paid, go home, get a nice reference. That's all that's all you want, right? You know, um, and but I learned quite a lot from it, and there were people that really enjoyed it, and that's for them, but it just wasn't for
Yeah.
me.
And you're right about civil service in the sense that the flexi time where there isn't necessarily
Really
a
helpful,
fixed
man.
time to start. You could be coming in at 8, 9, or even 10, or even like within those times, and nobody's
Yeah.
there to like, unless you're in a very operational role where you need to be in that certain time. Nobody's
Mm.
tracking you, or like unless you have some really weird micromanagers. But generally, there's a lot of
Yeah.
respect.
I mean, there's trust there, right?
Yeah,
There's trust. They expect you to get on with what you're doing, and that actually makes you want to work even harder.
yeah.
They trust you, and you want to prove to them that they made the right decision. So, um, yeah, that's really big.
And you mentioned one thing as well, which I think is really, really important and interesting. And I sort of went through that, but through the apprenticeship route. But that was finding things you don't like and having
Right,
that
right.
process of elimination, which is what I call it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I was trying to think of
Yeah,
that.
because it's like when you come in to, and this is why I strongly advise people just to do, even if you can't find the ideal thing, anything, start with anything like that you can find where you might get paid, or even if it might be some ways voluntary, at least get in
Mm.
there, look out. Because once you're in there, whether even if it's working remotely now or in the office, when you're
Yeah,
talking to the people, when you're doing the work, you're gonna find those little things that you like and those things that you don't like. So it could be, for example, your colleagues. Like for one,
yeah.
are they the sort of people that you sort of gel
Sure.
with, or are they like too maybe money
Yeah, yeah.
orientated, or just too focused on one thing and not life as a bigger picture? Um,
Mm.
or they're open-minded, closed-minded people. Because sometimes you see that. Other things are like, what's the atmosphere like? Is it
Mm.
are there good vibes? Is it dead? Are
Yeah,
people generally friendly, or are there
yeah.
development opportunities? Are they like not? Or what's the progression like? But you see it more when you're in there, in comparison to when you're not in there. And also, like, you learn about your working style. Do you like to work more
Yeah.
independently, where your manager gives you something to do and you get
You
on with
you
it?
learn more about yourself
Yeah,
and what you thrive in and how you work. Yeah.
and that's why I think is really valuable. And these are just like little examples. There's so much more there that you just download and learn that thing and figure out, okay, I've been here for like this many months or this many weeks or even like a week. I realize these are things I like, these are things I don't like. So when you're making your next step, you might know what questions to ask yourself or ask the employer, and then make that a better informed decision,
Absolutely.
which I think is really important, especially for the Muslim community. We need to
Yeah.
know what's there and make an informed decision rather than just going by what society might perceive to be the right
You know
career.
what I really, really want to emphasize, and to your listeners as well, is that don't feel that you have to stick around for this many years or months until you move. Like, look, get as much experience as you can. Like, with you moving from a role to another role, it doesn't need to be a promotion. It can be a level move. Really gain those skills, hone them in. And again, that process of elimination will be far easier for you as well. Um, and I feel as though with our culture or just the way we're brought up is if you're moving around too much, it's like insecurity. You're not securing your job and this or the other. We really need to get that out of our system because you know yourself better than anyone else. and you've got to make that judgment call. Don't allow your even your closest companions. At the end of the day, it's you. You're the one working. So if you feel as though you want to get some exposure in an area of the business that you've always wanted to, do it. Apply. Go for it. Have a secondment. Do it for 2-3 months. Move around, learn. Because there might be a role out there that is so suited for you, but you're never going to know about it because you were too comfortable and you were just too like, I'm happy with this paycheck and I'm just content with it, even though you could have done far, far greater.
Yeah, and that's one of the kind of beauties, I think, of their fast stream, where they give you those different placements. And
They throw you in the deep end, man. Yeah, and I think that's really really good. Like the role that I joined in. So I joined at the start of September, and so the colleague that works with me, she was on leave for like a week, so it was just kind of me in the office, kind of managing all, and that really helped me out because that's it. I'm the deep end. I still don't really. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but there's still elements of the role that I'm not too comfortable with. But in those scenarios, you either sink or you swim. Like you've got to learn quickly. And now looking back, it's like, you know what, that was really, really helpful.
so is that for your current role right now?
Yeah, it's my current role. Yeah, so kind of registry for the chancellor. So it's like things like the chancellor. I don't know if you see, so the chancellor's like holding this folder, this red folder. So one of the role is kind of, so we support the private secretaries, but also sorting out a lot of his materials for the week. So that's why I kind of need to go to number 10 on a daily basis to hand him a lot of the things he's reading, his briefings, of various things that are happening. So that stuff is just it is a bit weird. It's a bit surreal. I'm still kind of it's still kind of sinking in, but
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I don't even know what my point
yeah,
was.
but
Uh,
I think we're on a slight tangent, but you must like kind of casually just see Boris walking around, right?
you know what? Um, Seeing as so I went to number 10. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I went into the chancellor's office to drop. So with number 10, because obviously most people haven't been inside it, right? So number 10 and 11 are they might as well be the same like thing because it's just one corridor that separates the two. I don't know if you've been. Have you been, Rahul?
I think I've been in number 11, I think, or
You've been number 11?
or if there's another one before that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. So number 11, if you just turn right, you're in number 10. Like they're just joined together. And the prime minister's living in number 11 because I think it's slightly bigger or something like that. So as I drop something to the chancellor, um, and I open the door and I see the prime minister by himself walking across, and I look at him and I'm like, oh, I'm like, the first thing I'm like, oh, hey, and he's like, hey, 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 and he's going up the stairs to his accommodation, and I've got a bunch of briefings I need to drop over to the special advisors, who are very close to his residence. So like we were going up the corridor, going up the stairs, and I was just thinking, like me and the prime minister just walking up the stairs right now. This is so fucking weird. But yeah, you have moments like that. You see people and stuff, and it's just uh, it's really really weird, Rahil. I just can't even explain it. It's unless you're there in that moment, you become really I don't want to become immune to it, because it's some really weird shit sometimes.
Hopefully, yeah. I hope you get used to it. You might need to, but
Yeah, I know. I've got a funny a little story actually, and I needed to pray. So I was in it's my first week, and I had to pray. It's Maghrib time, and I speak to one of my colleagues, and she's Muslim, and I said, where do I pray? She goes, I don't think there's a prayer room here, or I'm not really too sure. I was like, rah, okay, what do I do? And she goes, why don't you just pray in the corridor? And I'm like, well, corridor number 10. And I'm like, no one there. But I was like, this would be a really weird scene if security sees a guy in a beard, like. But I managed to pray, and it was really weird. I was like, wow, I might be like the first or only Muslim to pray in the corridor number 10. I'm not too sure, but I did it, and it felt really great.
putting the baraka there, bro, in number 10, like
Yeah,
that's
bro,
next
bro.
level.
Yeah, it was
But
an
I
experience.
think so we were talking about your experience, by the way, on the Summer Diversity
Yeah,
Internship, which all of a sudden turned into some stories about your current role, which we're all for, and I think that's really interesting insight and,
yeah,
and listening. But so you mentioned working in like the DNI space in the Cabinet Office.
Yeah.
What did that sort of look like in terms of what you were doing and getting up to in a day-to-day?
So honestly speaking, as an SDIP intern, you're not given too much responsibility. The whole purpose of it is to kind of, you're exposed to the civil service, you're in the team meetings. Yeah, you get assigned tasks to do. So the stuff that I was working on was National Inclusion Week, doing some research on how millennials work, because as you know, the working modes and the traditional working modes have changed drastically, and now you've got environments in Facebook and the likes of Microsoft are completely different. You've got sleeping pods, and you've got cafes, and people are coming in their t-shirts and shorts, and so the whole research was about how can we make the civil service a little bit more friendly to millennials who may actually get more out of it and become more efficient and productive. Because often the traditional mindset is the 9 to 5, suited and booted, that's how you get your work done. Well, no, actually, it's not. Studies have shown, I think in Finland or whatnot, like I think they want to even go down to 4-day weeks and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know which country it was to do 4 hour weeks or 4 hour days or something crazy. Like you're only working from like 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's it, because they've shown that that's the most productive time, and that's how it is. So we did a bit of research on that, and mainly it was kind of being exposed to the civil service and how people work, and it was really inspiring more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. 'Cause I
Yeah.
reckon if they did do an experiment like that, I reckon they'd be surprised, because all those meetings that you just sit in and people just kind of talk and go on a tangent, that would be cut.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this kind of links into the 4-hour work week that I was listening to, the Tim Ferriss one. And he sort of mentioned, I can't remember what law it was, Parkinson's law or Pareto's law, something like that. But it was basically like when you cut the deadline to when you need to deliver something, you do it far more efficiently. And the example that he gave was,
Right.
for example, if you got 2 weeks to do an assignment and you've got 1 day to do an assignment, then in that 1 day, you're going to bang it out so much and focus so much on it that you'll get it done within that 1 day. Whereas if you have 2 weeks, you're basically going to waste a
I
lot
mean,
of time.
look at the example of university or
Yeah.
sixth form or deadlines. Like you leave it to the last minute, and often you actually do pretty well. So yeah, I definitely resonate
And
with
I
that.
reckon, yeah, there's something that could be trialed there, but I doubt they'll do it anytime soon, especially with the COVID and remote working. But a 30-hour work week would be an interesting one. And even like that shortened day one, 4 hours a day, that'd be interesting
Yeah,
just to see how it works out.
I don't know. I don't know if the corporations are ready
Yeah,
for it
no,
yet.
no.
But soon, like people like me and you, inshallah, will become the senior management I mean, sooner rather than later, and then we can change the whole system,
Play our
inshallah.
little role as cogs, yeah. But
Yeah,
and also with SDIP, you did like from when I was on my side when I was looking at it from the operational side, they did a lot of events facilitated for the interns to get involved in. And I think one really cool one was the crisis management at the Ministry of Defense, I think, where
yeah,
there's like a spend like half a day in the morning or a couple of hours, and you sort of put in like a situation where you are given different roles and you got to react to like a crisis in the
yeah.
UK.
No, that was really fascinating. So everyone kind of got given. So you're the prime minister, you're the foreign secretary, you're the treasurer. I like various roles, and it's literally a it's not even a crazy scenario, because these days, like we're in a pandemic, man, like anything can happen. So look, bang, the UK has now is in conflict with so and so, or there's an earthquake and in this country, and we need to give a formal statement, or what is the UK stance on this? And these are our allies, and what will our actions, what kind of repercussions will they have on those states or this demographic or our budget? There's various things like that, and it really opens your mind up to the high level things that diplomats and senior civil servants have to go through on a daily
Yeah,
basis. Um, Really, really, really insightful, and it was really well
yeah,
managed.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to come back to SDIP later because I think
Yeah,
application wise, I know you mentioned it's literally like you do just,
application wise, it's actually very, very
yeah,
straightforward.
you got to have your examples prepared, I think, and you could just got to practice
Yeah,
it. Like I think at some point I'm going to post like an episode focused on the interview I had recently, where I
Oh, yeah,
succeeded,
that would be really helpful.
did really well, but didn't get it for because I wasn't somebody had probably more experience. But that's not the point. I think the point with that one is
Yeah,
to learn how to structure your examples, and
sure.
hopefully through my experience, people can listen to it and just maybe better it, if anything. Figure out how I kind
Yeah,
of waffled a bit, and how can they learn
yeah,
from that and actually structure what they have to say. Because I think if you can just put across the body language and the tone and the structure right, especially for Esther, because
yeah.
again with some of the internship, a lot of things that I've realized is that they're not expecting you to have the experience or the polish or like anything like that. Rather, they're
Not at
expecting you
all.
to have done something, but
Yeah.
show why that was like something maybe useful that translates to having the potential.
And they that's it. They're looking for potential. They're looking for ambitious people who are using their own initiative and are just open-minded and are just really, are willing to just get on with it. That's it. It's very
Yeah,
straightforward. And often people overcomplicate it when they're applying. Just don't overthink it.
yeah, 100%. And did you do any other? So I know you mentioned the sort of the placement, the 3 months at the asset management, which was maybe 12 months. Did you do any other internships or like any other sort of things?
Yeah. So when I resigned, I had like a month because I was like, I went back to my university. Unfortunately, they were like, we can't really support you, we can't help you. Take a year of absence. So if you look at my academic transcript of my grades, it actually says Osama took a leave of absence for a year. A leave of absence, who takes it? If if you're ill or you're going through something quite personal. And I was like, rah, like that. That's not the reason. I wanna do stuff. I need to build my CV. So when I left, I had about a month to. I was literally full time sending emails, spamming people, sending various things to loads of people. I went to the Parliament website. There's like loads of MPs. Found them, and I just emailed them. MEPs did the same thing, and one MEP, which I'm going to be, very indebted to, is Wajid Khan. He's a Labour MEP. He was a Labour MEP, working in Brussels, and he emailed me back saying, "Osama, I can't pay you. It's an unpaid, but I know you seem really ambitious. Come over to Belgium. Come over to Brussels for a couple of weeks, and you shadow me, work with me. We're working on Brexit. It's really interesting. Go for it. I know you study politics." He went above and beyond, and I was like, right, like he really doesn't need to do any of this for me. And luckily, now you must be thinking, okay, Brussels, now you're not getting paid. Where are you going to be living? That's expensive. Um, Alhamdulillah, Allah works in miraculous ways because my closest friend got a placement year in Brussels as well. So he was working for CBI, the Confederation of Business of British Industry, a big kind of lobbyist representing British businesses at the EU level. And he was working in Brussels, so he already had a place to crash at. So I literally just went to him, and I was there for 2 weeks, just chilling with him, and I was working there. And while I was there, I was thinking, I really like this place. And my friend, his name's Yusuf, and he was like, okay, fine, don't worry, I will network for you. So whenever I'm in these business meetings, I'll give you a little shout out, and I can see what I can
Yeah,
do. So he built up a small network with a Brussels-based think tank called Friends of Europe, who are literally opposite the European Parliament. I applied. So by then, I did my little internship at the European Parliament, came back to the UK. Now it's December. So now it's December, I'm applying for SDIP. So I'm applying for SDIP. I don't know if I'm going to get SDIP because that's for the summer, I think.
yeah.
And I applied for various internships in Belgium now, as a UK citizen. And I did an online test. They had an online test as well, and I got it. It was for 5 months, a paid, right? Um, so I got it, and I went on the Eurostar, and bang, and I was there for 4 or 5 months, and I was living in this Turkish family's house. I had my own little room. I had to negotiate my rent. They spoke Turkish and they spoke
How did you meet
French,
them,
and I spoke on a Facebook group. I was looking for houses,
bro? I
rooms in
think we need a
Belgium.
blog, bro.
The craziest thing is, my office was here, and my friend's office, Yusuf's office, was there. And it just planned out like that. So every lunch break, we used to have lunch together. Every Jummah, we used to go Jummah together. And we used to be like, subhanAllah, like, we're uni students, we're undergraduates, we're working together in Belgium, and we're chilling together. And it was really, really, one thing I really big disclaimer, big, like, really important, make dua, pray. Honestly, Like one thing that helped me throughout every experience, bro, is I made sure whatever's happening, I'm praying. Like you're praying. It's Maghrib's coming in, you got a meeting. I'm sorry, I need to pray. I'm sorry, I need to pray. You see people running around for such senior individuals. Who are these people? These are prime ministers, these are finance ministers, these are, ambassadors. Allah created these people, and Allah will raise a people, and Allah will humiliate a people. You know, so you're running around for them, and what about the one that created you and created everything in between you, the hell, the heaven, the seven heavens, everything? Just deep that for a moment. So, whatever you do in your life, any internship, any nothing, make sure you pray. You pray, you pray, you pray, and Allah will open doors for you, bro. Because I know for a fact, I'm being very sincere. I'm not the most intelligent person in any of these internships. I'm not the most, person who thinks on their feet. I know people that are way more qualified than me in every role that I've been to, but I've managed to get them because of dua and because Allah's helped me, and Allah's helped me because I made dua. I asked Him. That's it, and Allah won't, He's not gonna leave you empty-handed, bro. Never, never. So just make dua. So that's just one thing I just really need to put out there. Very, very important. Because often I see people and they're not praying. And I'm like, bro, you're making dua and you're not praying, but you gotta pray, bro. You gotta pray. You gotta pray. You just gotta try. Yeah, you miss it, you miss it. Fine, we get it. We're living busy lives. But that's just one thing. Just don't leave off the prayer. Just don't leave off the prayer.
No, that's a gem, bro. 100%. And it's
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful because the power of
yeah.
dua and the power of salah, like, it opens doors that you just don't perceive. Like,
It
and
opens
this is an
doors, like,
example. This is
well,
an amazing
and the
example.
weirdest thing is, bro, I used to make dua in the most weirdest locations because I was in random predicaments. I'm in a meeting. I need to pray. I used to pray. And I used to make dua thinking, subhanAllah, I, I wonder where am I going to be praying next because it's in such weird areas. I was in the European Parliament, bro, and I looked at the guy next to me. His name, I forget his name. Really amazing guy. And I said to him, I need to pray. And he was like, oh, no problem. And there's not a room. It's an open space in the European Parliament. And I pray. And he said, Osama, while you pray, Tony Blair and his delegation just walked past you. And I was like, that's so flipping crazy. Like I'm just trying to like I was literally in the center of it, and I just prayed. And I'm only saying this because you should you should not be scared, and you should not be disheartened, and you should never be oh what are other people gonna think and this that the other. When it's time to pray, of course, try to find a place that is private. Absolutely, without a doubt. Especially if you're a sister, without a doubt, if you can find a place to pray privately. But if the time's running out and you've got nothing to do, go for it, man. Just pray. Um, so, yeah, the power of the why is huge. So, and I was there and I was working in Brussels and it was a really interesting environment to be in. Um, and it really opens my eyes because now that I'm working this role, now because I've had that previous experience, if someone says, or someone there's a role in Singapore, there's a role in Malaysia, like it's not going to be like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Because I've already done it at a young age when I was still an undergraduate and I had to negotiate my rent and I was getting paid in euros and I didn't even know how much money is to spend and food and this and that. That's second nature to me now, and I feel very comfortable being in a really crazy random location because I've done
How
it
did
before.
you
Um,
when you and you pause you there because there's amazing, like,
yeah,
so
sure.
much there. Let me just summarize all of that from what I gathered.
Yeah,
So you had your placement there at an asset management firm. 3 months in, it just wasn't working out, so you left.
exactly.
You went back to the university and tried to get back in, but they weren't having it, and they gave you like a leave of absence. And then for that
Yeah,
particular month, you were just going out, emailing MPs, anyone to try to get some sort of experience or some sort of thing to do basically. And then one MEP did respond, and he gave the opportunity in Brussels to go there, and which just so happened to coincide with the fact that your friend was also there at the same time, so you could crash with him and have your
yeah,
accommodation sorted. And then within that time,
yeah,
your friend sort of helped you with the networking as well, and Where did you look for the opportunities again? Like, how did you find?
Okay, so when it ended, so my internship ended, so I went back to the UK. So I'm in my UK and it's December and I'm still unemployed because I've got final year to go to in October. So I've got between December and October to fill in this time. So that's why in the midst of this, I was applying for SDIP because that would
Yeah.
cover at least 6 to 8 weeks in the summer. So I was thinking, inshallah, if things go well, Allah, I need this. I really need this because that will help me out that way. So now I'm thinking, what do I do now? So Yusuf is in Brussels networking for me, and I'm on my laptop um, emailing and doing my thing. So I email this think tank. I do a Skype interview with the director of policy, this British Indian guy actually who works in Brussels, and it was a pretty intense interview. And it was really kind of really high level stuff like about Trump and this and that. So I had to do a bit of reading and kind of act like I know exactly what's going on. And then they made me do a test, an online kind of test. It wasn't one of those numerical or situational or verbal reasoning. It was like you've got to create a briefing or something. Like you're basically going to the European Commission to give a briefing regarding the Paris Treaty, some random scenario. And I did that, I submitted it, and I found out after a couple of weeks that I got it. And they said they sent me my contract. It was all in French. I signed it. I was like, well, I just needed a number. I just need to know how much I was going to pay. It wasn't a lot of money. It was like a stipend, so it was like it's covering basically covering my lunches and my rent or barely. Um, and yeah, that's what I did. I applied for it. So I flew out again in January because I started end of January. So then I went a little bit earlier in January because I had to negotiate my rent and stuff because I went on Facebook Marketplace and I was looking for rooms to rent in Brussels. So the area obviously I went to was where all the Turks and the Arabs are because that's the cheapest area. Um, and which was a little bit weird as well because you know how like in London you've got East London and then you've got Tower Hill and then you've got all of kind of Canary Wharf on the other side,
Yeah, yeah.
Tower Hamlets. So it's really weird. So you've got all of that kind of that area, then it's like kind of deprived on the other side. So I was in that area, and it's literally just 1 block away, big buildings, shiny buildings, and European Commission, European Parliament, da 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 da. Literally one road down the road, you've got refugees, and you just got a completely different like city you're in altogether. Um, so yeah, man, I was there for 4 or 5 months, and my friend Yusuf was there as well because he finished in like May, June as well. So it was really good to have a close friend of mine. We had friends coming over from the UK because we had a place to crash in Brussels, so we chilled with them as well. Um, and and something little happened as well. So in the EU, bro, they really support EU nationals and EU students to do various amazing things and things that the UK students never get opportunity of doing. One of which was for 1 week go to Italy in Naples, representing Belgium as the U. It's called the Youth Delegation of the Future, right? I'm a UK citizen, but I applied anyway. I had to write a small personal statement and flights paid for, food paid for, accommodation paid for a whole week. And I'm in Belgium right now, and I get it. I got it. And I said to my friend in Luton, bro, apply for it. It's very easy. I'm sure you can get it. I'll sort you out with your application. He gets it too. So he meets me in Belgium. We fly out to Naples in Italy for 1 week. Because for him, it's like a holiday. He's like, it's a holiday. For me, it's like, it's a holiday too. So I told my work people, I've got 1 week off. So me and him went to Italy, Naples for 1 week. We met with Italian policymakers. And this was in March for 1 week. So I was with my close friend from Luton who came down as well. And we still laugh over it because it's so random. It was like 1 week before I told him, and he was in Brussels the week after, and I think he was in his uni, like he was in uni, but he took a week off because he was like, screw it, this is too good to be true. Uh, yeah, a load of random crap happened in that year, man.
Did they speak English there? Like,
They spoke English there. Yeah, it was all in English. That's one thing they said beforehand as well. So Naples, we went there. That's where the pizza was. I think it was like created in Naples. So we had the original pizza. We had all sorts. We were enjoying it. We were chilling. And then the week just went out. And then he went back to the UK, and I went back to
but
Brussels.
what was the work thing going on there? Like, what was the learning? Was it just the holiday?
It was like we were talking about, how there's So in terms of politics, it's really polarized now in the UK and Europe as well, far right politics, etc. So we were talking about why is that? What kind of problems the EU is going to be facing in the future, such as the refugee crisis, very, very prominent things, climate change. And they basically wanted the youngsters, the youth of tomorrow, the youth delegation, to give input to these Italian policymakers who would now raise those concerns at the EU level for Italy. But we were Belgium. So we had a delegation from Belgium who was us. We had a delegation from Netherlands. We had a delegation from Finland. We had a delegation from, like, we had various small dignitaries, basically, delegations coming in. And I was representing Belgium, which was hilarious because when I spoke, they're like, you're not from Belgium. Well, they looked at my face. They're like, you're definitely not from the UK either. Because some of them are, some of them are really kind of forthright and
Yeah.
really, I was like, I'm British Pakistani. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I was like, yes.
So go with it. Go with it. Forget it.
I just go with it, man. Me and my friend, we were kind of just chilling the whole time. To be honest, we just used it as a holiday. We could have done a lot better, but
Yeah.
it's on the TV, man. That's all that counts.
That sounds mad, bro. That sounds wicked, and it all
Yeah,
kind of came from
and why did it come from? Again, you know how the butterfly effect, how one person, one opportunity, one thing can lead to so many. So if I wasn't okay, look, if I didn't go to Loughborough, I wouldn't have met my friend Yusuf, right? He would not have done a placement year. I would not have done a placement year because for me it was about go to uni, get out. He said, look, do your study abroad, do your year abroad, work abroad. So I met him, I did that. I went to Belgium and I met friends in Belgium. To this day, I've got friends. I met a British Pakistani from Lahore who was interning in the European Parliament with an MEP, with a UKIP MEP, which is the weirdest thing. And this guy called Dyson Robinson, this African American, from I forget where he's from. He's from the south, and I've gone on my Facebook as well. And he says, whenever I'm in London, I'm gonna shout you this, that, the other. And you meet so many cool, crazy people, and you only do that, bro, when you leave the small island that is the UK. And that's with everyone across the world. I mean, like if you're from Italy, there's a world outside of Italy. If you're from the UK, there's a world outside of the UK. Vice versa. Like if you're in the US, there's a whole world out there, man. And I think we're regional as well. Like when you're from, like, from me, I'm from Hertfordshire. Like there's a world outside of Hertfordshire, man. You're from London. People haven't been up
yeah.
north. Like people haven't been to Scotland. They haven't been to Wales. Like forget about leaving the country. You haven't even explored the UK yet. Like,
That's me.
yeah, I say that, bro. I've only been to Scotland like once. I've been to Wales once. To up north, for me, up north is anything over Leicester. I consider is north. Like I've been to Birmingham maybe like once in my life or twice in my
Not going
life.
back.
Exactly, not going. I'm joking. No, Birmingham's good. I go there for food and stuff. I don't have many friends in Birmingham, so like, unless you've got things to do or people to meet, like there's not really much point. But
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I know. I went
No,
off
that was wicked.
for
That was really good. But I think a question there's
yeah.
I think a few questions I want to ask. One will be later on, which is kind of forgotten it now, which might come back to me. But the first question I wanted to ask was, so looking back, what qualities or what things did you learn that you need to have to be prepared for like such opportunities? And I know you mentioned before the recording about resilience and how that really helped. And you also
Yeah.
mentioned dua and pray to Allah, which you really emphasize on. But if you were to elaborate on the point about resilience, how did that play a part with all of this?
Man, absolutely. Like you got to tie your camel. You got to do your job as well. You got to apply and you got to apply. Like for me to say I got SDIP and then I got that MEP reply to me, it all sounds too good to be true. And this guy is just no, 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 no. This came with 100, 200, 300 emails of unfortunately you did not get it. And the number of applications that I applied for is actually beyond a joke because every morning it became a joke because every morning if I didn't get at least 3 or 4 emails saying I didn't get it, like me and my friend used to just laugh about it. It's like today was a good day. Like if I got 2 rejections in a day, that was a good day. Anything more than that, we'll laugh it off. But you've got to be very, very resilient, man. Especially to the generation that are right now, maybe at university. You're living through something that people in the next 100 years will be reading in textbooks and writing essays about. Like, you know, you gotta be you gotta try, man. You gotta keep on going because nothing's gonna, it's not gonna fall for you on a plate. That's with anyone, but no one's ever gonna give you anything. And right now, with the number of students that are gonna be, have got these amazing degrees and from amazing universities who are gonna have these expectations of landing these roles, who are non-existent right now actually because firms are really cutting their costs, and the first place they go to are internships and graduate programs because they've already got a load of graduates from the years before. So you've got to change your mindset. You've either got to become more entrepreneurial and think about startups and something like that and create something yourself. And I think that is something beautiful as well. And who knows, that may lead to something that you never thought about at the first place, But you really, really be resilient. That's one thing you have to be because without it, you shouldn't have any expectations because no one's going to give you anything, man.
Yeah. Do you
That's very
think
important.
that from each rejection, did it drive you more? Like, because sometimes I see, like one thing I try to do is from my
Yeah.
experience, when I get rejected or face a setback, I try to use it as fuel for motivation and hunger to want to succeed more. Could that apply to you as well?
Yes and no, because I wish I was like that. And I think that is that's that generic thing that people say, setbacks, it should fuel you to do this and do that. But bro, imagine there's a place that you really, really wanted to work at, and that's always been your dream, and now you get rejection. You will have that setback. You will be down, and that's very fine. I really want to humanize this because it's very normal to just be like closing your laptop and for the week just have that time off. Sometimes you need a break. You're a human. You're young. And again, you might be seeing your friends getting internships and this and that. But there's a timing for everything, man. You're gonna have your timing. They have their timing, and Allah is the best of planners. Just do your job. Just remember to do your job. You've got to apply yourself, network yourself, make dua, and things will fall into place, inshallah. Um, but try to use that as fuel. Absolutely. If you can, do it because, like I said, you need to be resilient and you got to keep on going.
Yeah,
Got to keep on going.
yeah. And I guess leads me into my next question now, which is kind of like a double-ended question.
Yeah.
From your experience and if you're looking back, how can one be sort of best prepared for an internship, and how can one also make the most of it on the experience? Because you've done quite a few different things. If you were to look back, what would you kind of, tell someone?
Okay.
Deep question.
Best prepared. Best prepared. I would say. I mean, it'd be a real generic answer, but I would say you can't really be prepared because every internship you go to, every company you go to, the culture is it's gonna be completely different. From a private sector to a public sector, to an investment bank to a law firm, it's gonna be very different. So all you can do is bring in your best characteristics. Make sure you're hardworking. Make sure you are open-minded. Make sure that you're willing to work in a team. Have those characteristics because they will help you in every role you can go into. So, in terms of being prepared for an internship, there's really not too much unless your time management skills, things like that, which is going to be useful for every role. But your second question about what advice I can give to someone who's maybe got an internship or is going to be going into one is try to really network, like network, because the moment you're in that internship and you leave, that's it. Like if there's someone, imagine if I've just gone to an internship, I've done it, case closed, but then there's you who's met with a manager, who's had a coffee with the seniors, who know you by face, who you've added them on LinkedIn, you've messaged them, you've thanked them. So now if there's any other roles going to be in the future, they're like, oh wow, there was Rahil who was who's really the really nice guy who's really helpful and he did his job. Like that goes a real long way. Network, and be open-minded.
Yeah.
Um, in an internship, they will give you a body of work because as an intern, you only have a certain time frame to do something, right? They're going to say you're working on this. So my sincere advice would be do that job to the best of your ability, but then say I want more. I want more. I want to I want to work on something that you're working on, or something that's interesting you. For example, like you work on that portfolio, and that sounds really really interesting. If it genuinely does, can I support you on this? Or is there anything I can do to help you with that? Because that shows again proactivity. That shows you're ambitious. That shows, oh my God, like if there is a role going to come up in the future, I want someone like that. I want someone like who's willing to take on the burden of someone else and is really, really helpful. That I think is really, really
Yeah.
key. Because if I had someone like that, or I'm employing and with those characteristics, I'd be like, yo, like, what more do you want? Like, this guy is, you know, the best for them as
Yeah.
well.
I think I want to add to that as well because
Yeah,
so in my role, I've been looking after interns for 2 years now. And
sure.
I've also like even before that when I used to meet people like yourself, I've seen a lot of interns as well. So I've kind of picked up some good traits of interns and some not so good traits. And
Right.
I think you touched upon a few there, which I want to elaborate further, which is I think one thing that I always say so to my interns is that one of the principles is to have humility to the extent that you know that you don't know everything. They know that you don't necessarily know everything when you're coming in, but if you're coming in with that humility that you acknowledge that and you're asking the question, you're showing the interest, you're showing that you want to learn and that you
Yeah.
want to find out about what's going on here. And you might ask, okay, I want to find out about what goes on there as well because maybe I'm interested in strategy. So what does the strategy team do? How does that align with my work? Showing that interest does like create a good impression. And I think if you're going in and like you mentioned, like in the humility part, like at the end of it, where you say thank you like to someone that may give you that piece of advice, that
Yeah.
person is gonna remember you for a
Yes.
very long time. I know for a fact, if an intern sent me an email at the end of it, and like, Rahul, thank you for coordinating and doing that, I know that I'm gonna remember that person for the years to
Yeah.
come. And I imagine if there's a senior manager or like other managers that might have positions going forward, and you've had that impression on them, and you've shown them your potential as well, like whilst maybe sort of shadowing or doing some work with them, maybe asking for the additional project and seeing what they do, then they might think, you know what, why not give this person a chance? Because I think the thing with humility, I say, is because you don't
Yeah.
have the previous experience or all that stuff to bring with you. But one thing you can do is sort of conquer the heart. And I think if you can do that, even on a professional level, like show that you really really appreciate.
But you're being genuine. You know, you're being genuine, and I think that you made a really good point. Just having your etiquettes and your manners, and firstly, you know, as a Muslim, that's like the most important thing, right? Um, just say your please, say your thank yous, and just try to be the best you can be. Because ultimately, bro, you're not just gonna be helping yourself in your job. You're helping yourself in your deen, bro. You're getting rewarded
Yeah,
for that. Like you're working and you're getting rewarded. Like, more would you want?
100%. And it leaves that really positive impression. And like you mentioned, take their contact details, add them on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And the other point you mentioned about the networks, that's super important as well. And even if it's
very
like
important.
if you're working remotely, and I've seen this as well. One advice I gave was leverage your line manager's network. So ask them, who do you know that I could speak to that would be really interested to talk to, or your even other
Sure.
interns out there that are working in different teams. Find out, okay, what are you doing in your team? Can I speak to your line manager or arrange some sort of shadowing and show that initiative? Because even if, for example, like you say, you show the humility and like they had that really positive impression of you, even if they don't offer you a placement at the end of it or like saying additional follow
Yeah,
up, they'll still remember you, and
that's
you've
right.
still done that part where you've saw other areas where you've widened your exposure and experience as
Yeah,
much as you could. So you're gonna leave with the best kind of possible outcome that you could do. And
yeah,
I know there's something else I want to elaborate on about that kind of
sure.
that humility point. And I think so the other side of it is, for example, from what I've seen as well, is like I've seen it quite a lot of interns. I've seen the interactions with operations teams. And I've seen some that have felt like it's not to say you're not entitled to certain things. You are. If a certain standard's not being met, then you've got a right to escalate and complain. But then there's certain things that I've seen where people have made like big deals out of very small things. Like there was one intern who kept asking specifically what's the lunch menu and what's going to be there. 'Cause I have these very specific requirements and it needs to be like this. And the team, they were like, when they saw his name coming for the inbox, they're like,
Yeah,
oh, it's this guy again. Like
yeah,
we didn't want to hear from him. So when
yeah,
that guy left, they were like relieved that they won't have to deal with someone like that. So don't be that person that starts
yeah,
to like think, oh, why isn't this like that? Why isn't this like that? Oh, we were to do an event here, it didn't happen. I'm really annoyed. I'm really frustrated. Rather, there's a lot of work that goes on, for example, with somebody of his internship. So if you're showing even like some understanding and appreciation that some things might not go to plan, acknowledge that. Say, look, fair enough, I understand that it can be tough, challenging it, and I really appreciate the work that's going on. And there's a small issue here. Can you help me resolve it? Then
yeah,
the fact that you're showing that appreciation, they're gonna leave with a really positive impression on these people. And if you got them on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and you want to ask them for advice later on at a point, they're gonna want to respond. They're gonna want to help you. Be that person.
Yeah,
Don't be the over entitled person. Be
be
that
that person, man.
humble, appreciative
Yeah,
person.
because you're always winning. You're always winning. So absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's some of the points I want to touch about internships. So I know we covered
Yeah.
that. Was it any other experience that you've had? Like, I think you mentioned another one to me before about somewhere, is it the Middle East or something?
Oh, in the Middle East.
Can't remember.
Oh, I applied for one, but I don't think I got it. Yeah, it was something to, and actually, some things work out for the best, man. Because I'm glad I didn't get it. It was in Dubai. This internship for like a couple of months. I don't know what it was, but I went for it, and it didn't work out right. But it was in the scorching heat of Dubai as well. It's not even enjoyable. It would be like 45 degrees, but
Yeah.
yeah, man. My last kind of piece of advice would just be, I know it's a stressful time for everyone. Everyone's kind of, especially if you're young and you're at uni and you're looking for internships and everything's very, very uncertain. But, you know, but make sure you help yourself. Don't be too disheartened and just sit back and have expectations and have a chip on your shoulder, because this is not the time to be that. It's time to be the person who is proactive and who is just going out there and showing yourself to the world and utilizing social media and saying, look, this is what I do. These are my skill sets. Do you have a role? Or don't be ashamed to put yourself out there, man, because we're living through a crisis that is in our history, we haven't seen anything really like it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just be proactive. Just be
Yeah.
proactive.
That leads me to a question, um, which I think might be relevant for this time. And normally, people are quite disapprove quite a bit of unpaid internships. And I know you
Yeah.
sort of did one. Would you advise, especially in this current tough climate, that people at least ask for shadowing, like as a minimum? That one of the things you can ask for is at least shadow someone, see what goes on there.
Okay.
That doesn't cost them anything. But was it worth somebody asking for potentially unpaid internships for a short period?
Of course, I'm not an advocate for unpaid internships. Interns should definitely get paid. They do a load of work, and often they really get screwed over in terms of hours they do, because they really want to show the employer that, they're really amazing, because they possibly want the full-time role at the end of it. But having said that, some experience is better than no experience. Beggars can't be choosers. I know that is really kind of crude in saying it, but it's true, man. Sometimes in certain situations, of course, don't do something crazy like 50, 60, 70 hours a week and they're making you do. But if it's something like, like for example, the Parliament one I did, it was 2 weeks in Parliament. We had a good understanding. I learned some stuff. I helped him out. He helped me out. It was a mutual agreement. It wasn't like, you're doing these many hours and then you're going to go home and you're not going to get paid. And if there is something out there, and if it's the last resort, definitely go for it. Because in the current climate, bro, if you don't have anything on your CV that does not look favorably at all, unfortunately
Yeah.
speaking, so just do it. Just do it, but make sure you're happy with the terms and conditions
Yeah.
as well, because they do come with it. So
And
that's very
another point
important.
I kind of want to touch upon there, like one of the final pieces of advice I think, is trying to play it a bit smart as well. So in the sense that if it's something like that, then maybe just a couple of weeks, like 1-2 weeks, and that'll be enough. But another thing I've seen, so one colleague approached me once, and she told me about
Mm,
that there's a student she knows that wants to shadow, and she wants to try to arrange some sort of informal
yeah,
project for her. And
yeah,
I was like, rather than doing it for the course of 2-3 days, why don't you do
yeah.
it like a once a week sort of thing? So when that person puts it
But
on their CV or something, they can say, or I've done like some shadowing for a month or 2 months.
that's really
Because
clever. That's really
the
clever.
fact that
Yeah,
you go for, even if it's a couple of hours a week, like just even like a remote meeting, you'd be okay, I'll be working on this. Can you give me some work to do that I can kind of go off for the rest of the week to research on stuff like that? Then go back, you'd be like, I've
yeah.
done a 2-month research project.
That's That's such, that's such a great piece of advice. That's really, really helpful. And also, don't forget when you're on your when you put it on your CV, are you going to write unpaid, paid? No one knows anything. If you look at my CV, if it says European Parliament, they're not going to know that I was not getting any money for it or anything else that I was not getting paid for. No one's going to ask you that. Maybe it's for that particular moment in time where you may have to struggle for a bit. But in the long term, when you're applying and you're using those examples for your next role that you will hopefully get, no one's going to be like, how much did you get
Yeah.
paid? Like, or, they're not going to ask you that. They just care about your skill set. Did you build it? What examples do you have? And
Yeah.
that's it. So,
And one thing I'm going to plug in again, because some people might ask, okay, where do I find these people? Then I was going to say again, there's a lot of Muslim professionals on LinkedIn. And like from
there
your
are,
experience, there might be a lot of rejections, but I'm sure there's one where if you just arrange like a couple of hours of shadowing and it'd be like, is there, if you're working on a strategy piece,
yeah,
is it a research piece that you're working on? Is there anything I could do that can maybe I could come back to you and be
yeah,
in touch with for the next few weeks or so I can do some work
yeah,
there and have that on my experience to say, I've done this shadowing or research piece for XYZ department or organization. And again, they're not going to be like, oh, we're going to reach out to that organization specifically and say what exactly did you work on. A lot of them don't have time for
yeah,
that. But as long as you've got experiences there, they can
no,
talk about and make it sound real, which is going to be real.
yeah,
Then that could be another kind of thing to leverage, especially during this tough time. That could be like a smart sort of way around it. But bro, I think we covered in a very unstructured way, very interesting.
apologies. Yeah, unstructured because I actually did not plan nothing pen to paper, but I hope it was useful to people because and feel free to put my details down on your Instagram or your YouTube if you're going to put it on there. I'm very I'm open to giving people advice, helping them out. If anyone has got any kind of particular questions on the civil service, SDIP, I'm sure Rahil can help you guys as well, and I'm more than happy to kind of help you. Or I mean, I work in London as well, so if anyone wants to meet up and speak about it, I'm all for that. So
Yeah, I reckon like maybe one day there should be a blog, bro, about your experience that because there's so much there. Like it literally would be
yeah,
interesting read.
yeah, it is. It is. Only when you think back, it's like, that was a bit of a madness. But when you're in it, you're always thinking ahead. You never have a time to think back and look back at what things you were doing. Because even now I'm kind of like full steam ahead. It's always good to kind of speak to you and recap because I know people can learn from those opportunities and
Definitely,
stuff.
bro,
So
definitely. But it was really good to have you back. First guest on number 10. Hopefully, inshallah, regular.
Jazakallah khair for your time, and I know you're doing an absolutely amazing job, and keep it up, man, because I know it's impacting loads of people, and they're really, really happy that there's something like this out there now.
Inshallah, more to come, bro. But jazakallah khair, man.
So, no
Assalamu
worries,
alaikum.
bro. I'll catch you in a bit. Wa alaikum salam.